Welcome everyone to a midweek technical analysis market wrap-up with Michael Nauss. I'm a chartered market technician and quantitative trader with statsedgetrading.com. If you're interested in more content like this, link is in the description below, along with access to all of the tools that you'll see me use today. So let's just get into it. Basically, every Wednesday, I just like to go over kind of what I'm seeing in the market right now. And then this culminates in a live stream that I do Sundays at 7 Eastern. So you can hit subscribe and the little bell or join my email list on my website in the link below. I send out an email about a day before I get started with the link. So quickly looking at Bitcoin, we all know from a longer term chart what's going on with the Bitcoin's crashed. I was watching that 30,000 area forever. We got a nice short as it broke through there. I'm actually looking at an additional short right in this area. Essentially what I'm looking at is that we sold off pretty dramatically, hit about 17,500, and then we bounce. And this blue line is the anchored VWAP, or the average price of the average market participant from this bounce. And that has been violated. Now we're basing below. So I think a break of that, we could continue to test these lows. And under those lows, who knows? So just watching that one just to see. Now, if that doesn't occur, I want to start looking at cryptos that show some relative strength, right? I want to be long the cryptos that are doing well, and I want to be short the cryptos that are doing poorly. It's mainly just the way I trade. So we have what's called an RSI divergence here on Atom. Simply put, RSI is a momentum indicator. If that momentum indicator is drifting higher as the price of the whatever you're looking at is drifting lower, it just means those two things don't make sense. So they're disagreeing with one another. So quite often, to line back up, either the momentum indicator needs to make new lows or the price needs to start making new highs. So that's what we saw here on Atom, where the RSI was making new highs here and price was making new lows at the same time. Had a little bounce from that, and then we pulled back to, again, this anchored VWAP right here from all-time lows. So holding that, that's interesting to me. If I see Bitcoin starting to bounce, this Atom USD may be one that I give a shot to. On the traditional currency front, you can see on Aussie Yen how pretty much every kind of bull flag pattern has worked out pretty well, and we're doing that again. So I'll be interested to see if this one can clear kind of this top leg of the bull flag. If it can, that's great. We'll get some continuation, maybe up to parity, so 100. Who knows? But it's one of those things that the Aussie seems to be incredible, or Aussie seems to be holding steady versus the dollar, and dollar yen seems to be pretty weak. So last on the currency front is the US CAD. So dollar CAD, we've had this huge area around 28.29, so 128, 129. Broke that recently and we pulled back into that zone. So if we can break out of that zone again, I'm interested in dollar CAD right here. Now we go into the traditional equity market. So just looking at the S&P 500, we've had a little bounce over the last few days after this sell-off right here. Interesting that we sold off yesterday and then a little bit today just to fill this gap and then bounced right from that gap. So that's interesting to me, essentially because in downtrends, you generally have these lower lows getting made. So if you pull back and you hold a level, it means at least for a moment, there was some dip buyers that came in and were waiting for that new low to kind of be made. And the first thing you need to see in order for a bear market to turn into a bull market is that buyers coming in at higher prices. And that's the first time in a long time in this sell-off that we actually saw that happen. The last time would have been kind of right in this area right here that preceded this little bounce. So be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. I think, the high of this area, which I think is about 382, is going to be interesting. Under this, it's probably all bets are off and we might be testing the lows here. So zooming into some individual indices, this XBI double bottom, I think I mentioned this in last week's episode. Very interesting, seemed to have worked out, and now we're pulling back right to this prior breakout area. You can see it was a low back here, and it was a high back here, and we've kind of pulled back right into that area. So if we can get some momentum tomorrow, this one is really interesting to me. Some equity names that I'm looking at, just going into individual type names. This ACLX is from the new IPO scanner at Trade Ideas. If you're interested, again, link in the description below for that. Something that I'm really liking. I've marked here in purple the IPO price. We broke out of that IPO price. We came back into it. And generally speaking, these IPOs can be very important areas for traders because that's where, your P&L would flip from red to green for a lot of these traders. And just as a sentiment indicator, if we're trading above the IPO price, more people are going to be happy, probably less likely to sell, that kind of thing. If we're trading below the IPO price, people are in a worse mood, more likely to sell, that kind of thing. So this thing's kind of basing up here after holding on this pullback, this IPO price. So if this can get going over these highs or even the whole $1.20, which you can see was an area back here, that's something that's interesting to me. Then this ACLX. Another one here is EDU. Full disclosure, I still have some EDU left. We had a TI strength alert, which is a relative strength algorithm that we have at Trade Ideas. Again, a link in the description below. Right in this area, I sold most as we popped up, so I have a very little tiny bit left, but it's putting in this bull flag after pulling back down. So if this can get going higher, maybe I'll add in the position that I'll go from there. And then here is BAH. Right here, just a massive resistance area. This one, if you go out on the weekly chart, is really, really strong. And it's got this massive resistance area just sitting at $90. And the thing I love about it is the relative strength. If you look at the market selling off, this thing's been holding pretty strong to $90. So if we can get over $90 a share, that's interesting to me. This other high right here is way back at 100. I think my face is covering it, but you got to trust me, there's a high here at 100. So if we can get over 90, maybe we take a shot at 100. That's a little bit over a 10% gain. So I will take those all day, every day. So thanks everyone for stopping by. Come join me over at statsedgetrading.com. And again, if you're interested in the live stream that goes on Sunday, link in the description below. Just sign up for my email list. I never share the email list, and I only really email when I'm going to go live or there's a new video or blog post or something like that I think you guys may be interested in. So thank you very much for stopping by, and I will talk to you soon.